This video was brought to you by Squarespace. Hey! Hey, do you need a website? Because if you do, then you also need Squarespace! Squarespace. If you are looking to build a website and you really don't know what you're doing, like I didn't know what I was doing, trust me, Squarespace makes it so easy. You pick a template, you customize it to meet your needs, and you are done. You have a website. After that, editing things, making changes, creating content, embedding pictures and video and all that stuff, it's all completely intuitive. I really like how I can make a bunch of content ahead of time and schedule it all to automatically publish and even automatically push to social media later, so I don't gotta do nothing. If you have greater needs and a more complicated website than I do, Squarespace offers a ton of powerful extensions. And if you want to see how your website is doing, they even offer a beautiful suite of analytics to peruse. To try out Squarespace for yourself, head to squarespace.com for a free trial. Then when you're ready to launch, head to squarespace.com/Arlo to save 10% off your first website or domain. And now for today's recommendation on videos of Indian ringneck parrots. Every single ringneck parrot on this planet has the same stupid little voice, and they say everything the same way, and there are unlimited videos of them being so stupidly absurdly cute. If you have not experienced these dumb animals, I highly recommend it. Thanks again to Squarespace. Now, on with the video! I don't know what's gotten into me today. I'm really sorry. You can't do this. I've been playing a lot of Pikmin 4 recently, and I'm still not ready to do my proper review yet. I'm sorry, but at the very least I can say, spoiler alert, it's really, really good. It's so rare to find a game that's so much fun, so polished, so lovingly crafted, and also so stuffed with content. If you ask me, it's just about the perfect Pikmin game, which is even better when you consider that Pikmin 4 is very likely to get some kind of DLC. Pikmin 3 got DLC, and I would not be surprised if the added content in Deluxe was originally planned to be DLC as well, before it was obvious that the game and the Wii U weren't gonna sell very much. So there's already a precedent for DLC in a Pikmin game, but the Switch generation has further normalized extra paid content hitting Nintendo games after launch, and we have every reason to believe that Pikmin 4 is going to end up a very significant sales success. So chances are real good that Nintendo will indeed give us some DLC. If this happens, it's very likely that we'll end up getting some extra Dandori challenges. This is essentially what Pikmin 3 got, challenge mode stages. This kind of thing is relatively easy to produce using the assets they've already got. It doesn't interfere with the main game. You can just kind of add it on top of everything else, no problem. It's simple and easy content that I, for one, would be more than happy to pay for. But if that ends up being the only post-launch content we get for Pikmin 4, I will be pretty bummed. Thankful that we got anything at all. Sure, Tears of the Kingdom isn't getting any DLC. If Pikmin 4 gets anything, I will be jumping for joy. Absolutely. Arlo, don't look a Pikmin horse in the mouth. But extra Dandori challenges and nothing else, yeah, I'll be pretty disappointed. And that's because of what I said earlier. Pikmin 4 is just about the perfect Pikmin game. Just about. The game is so close to perfection. Absolute perfection. And the thing is, its issues are not baked into the game. They are all easily addressable things. Each one could be patched. And even beyond patches, there is some extra content that I truly believe would elevate this game to legendary status. Pikmin 4 is already a complete and very meaty and very special experience, but this would make it feel like something so beyond special. Special on a whole other level. With this DLC, Pikmin 4 would not just be better. It would be perfect. Let's start things off with something very small, but still very important. In older Pikmin games, enemies always respawn after 3 days. Simple as that. If you take the time to clear out all the baddies, you better make sure you finish up your business in 3 days, or they're all coming back. In Pikmin 4, they never respawn. They just kinda don't. For the longest time, I kept waiting for it to happen, but then I looked it up, and yeah, those baddies, they just don't come back. Their bodies also stay where they are until you collect them, even overnight, which is a fun change. And I definitely understand this new system. The levels are way bigger, way more spread out. Enemies not respawning makes sense when you consider the greater game. But it just does not seem right that they don't at least respawn eventually. Because in caves, they do. Enemies stay dead until you 100% a cave. Then each time you come back, they all respawn. This is perfect. So why is this not the way it works on the overworld? Why don't the enemies at least respawn after you 100% an area? Or maybe even after like 10 days or something. Maybe there's a castaway who gives you the option to call the baddies back. Just something. Sometimes I just want to go out and fight stuff and grow my Pikmin numbers, but here that's not really an option. Maybe they wanted to make it harder to grow your numbers so you wouldn't have access to, basically unlimited Pikmin. I can certainly understand that. The game has no day limit after all, but getting Pikmin is still easy. It's just more time consuming this way because all you can collect is pellets. Even if it takes a long time to unlock the ability to respawn everything, the ability should be in there somewhere. These levels feel so empty and kinda lonely and sad without the baddies. But moving on to something more major, Pikmin 4 changes the Pikmin formula in a lot of ways, but there is one change in particular that is both a blessing and a curse. It's the auto lock. When you get near an object, your cursor automatically locks onto it. In the first 2 games, there was no lock-on function at all, just a free cursor. 3 introduced lock-on, but you had to hit a button to engage it. Pikmin 4 does not give you a choice. It just locks on to anything and everything. And it cannot be overstated just how much this streamlines the game. Pikmin almost always land just where you want them to. It's easy to throw Pikmin onto an enemy while running all around it. It lets you smoothly pick up lots of objects without doing a lot of manual aiming and Pikmin managing. It makes the experience feel so much snappier. There's so much less room for error. I really believe that this has made the game that much more approachable and fun for new players, which is a very good thing. However, while this feature does help a lot, it also creates what I feel is the game's only straight up big problem. This auto lock-on often gets in the way. It'll sometimes lock on to the wrong thing, and using ZR to cycle between targets is very awkward when you're in a hurry. There's another great new feature where your ability to throw is temporarily paused when you've thrown just enough Pikmin to carry an object. But this combined with the auto lock-on means that sometimes gathering up lots of tiny items spread apart just the right amount is really difficult. It's funny because they did give us the ability to use motion controls to move the cursor while holding down A, which in theory should give you the ability to manually aim without locking on, but it just doesn't work out very well. The cursor still aggressively tries to lock on to everything, and it's just too hard to actually get the cursor and the Pikmin to move freely. It's just not the solution it could have been. I think all this is an occasional annoyance at worst, but I'm one of the lucky ones. There are a lot of people out there who genuinely feel that the auto lock-on ruins the game, and I cannot blame them. I have been there. You play a game, everything about it is great, and you would love to keep playing, but there's one little annoying thing about it that just entirely prevents you from having fun. And control issues are always the worst. Sometimes your brain just can't adapt. And if you want to get even deeper into this discussion, auto lock-on streamlines the game in a way that makes it easier and more approachable, but it also removes much of the nuance in the gameplay. Even if I don't necessarily mind having it, I'd certainly like to try playing the game without it so that my experience more closely matches the experiences of the other Pikmin games. It really does make me a little bit sad that I can't just play the old way, even if just to try it out or even for the extra challenge. That's why this auto lock-on being mandatory with no option to turn it off is a big problem. And patching in some simple, very simple changes would make a world of difference. Make it so you can have lock-on set to auto, which is how it currently works, or you can choose between toggle and hold. Press a button to turn the auto lock on or off, or hold down that button to turn it on until you let go. I mean, I'm no game developer, and I know that imagining a feature is different from actually implementing it properly. Sometimes you might wish for a feature that in reality just wouldn't play the way you thought it would. But I've given this a lot of thought, and I just can't see a problem with this system. I mean, the button could just be ZR. That button is only used for switching between targets. It's sitting right there, just waiting to be used for this exact purpose. I don't know why Nintendo is sometimes, just sometimes, so intent on forcing certain control schemes into otherwise incredible games, even when they have loads and loads of people begging them not to. This is the Super Mario Odyssey situation all over again. Like, it's just not hard to make a thing optional. If it's literally ruining the experience for even a small percentage of players, there is no excuse not to fix it. Give us the option, you still get to keep the feature, you have your cake and eat it too, everybody wins. Everybody gets cake. So that's really the only, really important problem I feel that they should address. The rest of the game is absurdly frictionless. You know, everything just works. The quality of life features are so numerous, I honestly can't think of any other tweaks to actually ask for. So that leaves us with bigger features, namely modes. Another complaint I often see about Pikmin 4 is that, thanks in large part to its overall greater approachability and features such as auto lock-on, the game is a bit too easy. I don't think it's so easy that it's not fun, and there are plenty of tough challenges in there. And it's also pretty easy to augment difficulty by ignoring certain features, you know? Don't use items, don't use Ochi for combat, that kind of thing. But man, I do wish there was a harder mode. Or two. Pikmin 3 Deluxe introduced difficulty options for the first time in series history. I felt that they didn't push things quite far enough, and the hardest mode was really not that much harder. But it was still great that they tried, and I have no idea why they would include the option in 3 Deluxe, but not 4. Okay, well, I do have a theory. I think maybe they are planning on giving us some kind of hard mode, but they're waiting to do it through an update. I mean, it makes sense. You release the game, everyone enjoys it, the hubbub dies down, then a few months later, you give everyone ultra spicy mode to get people jumping back in for another playthrough. It's a great marketing tactic. I won't go into how I would personally handle a hard mode in Pikmin 4 if I were the one designing it, as much as I would love to, but I will say that this would really make the game more fun for series veterans such as myself, and just overall increase its replayability. And I do know that it's funny to want more replayability, because this game is already bursting with content and is endlessly replayable, like any Pikmin game. But this is such a small thing that would boost replayability by that much. Such a tiny change that would have such a dramatic impact on the experience. And similarly, there's another mode the game could really use. New Game Plus. Pikmin 4 gives you so many different items and abilities. You earn them slowly throughout the course of the whole game. It also takes a long time to increase your max Pikmin count to 100 and to get onions for all the Pikmin colors. And I really do like this incremental progression. You know, it's fun to work up to. You start out so weak and basic, but then by the end of the game, you're a Dandori master with countless tools in your belt. But this is also the classic video game problem of being granted the ultimate weapon at the end when there is nothing left to kill. Pikmin 4 gives you lots of stuff that, depending on how you tackle the game, you might not see until you have essentially done everything there is to do. As you progress through the game, you get less and less time to actually use and enjoy every ability you earn and every onion you collect. Want to know the very last things I did in the entire game? I rescued the last of the castaways, which got me Ochi's Infinite Rush, and I beat the Sage Leaf challenges, which earned me the purple and white onions. Then I was literally done with everything, and I got to use those rewards actually 0. So that's not a big problem, but it is frustrating, and there is an obvious solution here. Pikmin 4 is in desperate need of a New Game Plus. We need the ability to run through the game again, but with everything already unlocked. Tackling every area with every Pikmin type, max Pikmin count, late game abilities and items and stuff, it would just be amazing. Perfect for casual speedrunning. Then combine New Game Plus with harder difficulty options, and now everyone is playing through the game again. Everyone's talking about it again. Everyone's posting about it again. It's perfect. This is another thing that would make a terrific random update. I could really see it happening. I don't know if it will, but man, it would just make so much sense. This is it. The final piece of the puzzle, the final feature that would make Pikmin 4 the most perfect Pikmin experience I can even imagine. Longtime viewers of mine likely already know what I'm going to say because this is something I'm always hoping for. Something I yearn for so intensely that it keeps me awake at night. But before you roll your eyes, know that this isn't just something that I want. I truly believe this would make the game that much better from a broader perspective. The thing that Pikmin 4 needs most is a map editor. This is a feature that I want to appear in any Pikmin game simply because every Pikmin game is finite, and I want to play Pikmin infinitely. I want the ability to mix and match different elements and therefore keep on playing Pikmin forever. I need a map editor. Pikmin 1 and 2, maybe the tech wasn't there. Pikmin 3, that might have been hard to implement. But Pikmin 4 brought back caves. Look at these caves. They're these geometrically constructed areas that could easily be created in a simple editor and populated with enemies and treasures and whatnot. I wouldn't be surprised if the developers used some sort of simple editor that they created when they made these caves. This is one reason the game is so darn long. They generated so many different caves and Dandori challenges on top of that. These kinds of levels are just easier to make. Build the map, populate it, set a victory condition, there you go. And like I said, this isn't just something that I would want. It honestly feels to me like Pikmin 4 was built with a map editor in mind. There are so many different enemies, and especially bosses, that are really cool, but you just don't get to fight them that much. And if conditions are just right, like you've got an upgraded Ochi and just the right Pikmin, you can often demolish them without trouble. It's such a wasted opportunity. We need the ability to set up our own scenarios. As I talk about in my big fat review of the first game, the challenge that comes from fighting an enemy is not just the abilities and stats of that enemy. Your entire strategy might have to change dramatically to account for the other enemies and hazards and whatnot that are nearby. Even small changes to a scenario can offer much greater and much more interesting challenges. For an in-game example, look at the game's final cave. This is where the devs really started to experiment with this stuff. In particular, just look at this Empress Bulblax fight. It's the same baddie you've fought before, but now she's in this tiny little space, and when she does her roll move, you gotta jump over her using these air geysers. It is a terrifically tricky take on an old boss, and it's all thanks to that experimentation. One small change to the arena completely changes the fight. These enemies are so well designed that I want to see how hard it is to take them on in different environments, with specific types of Pikmin, maybe without using Ochi, with different hazards all over the place, whatever. It's not even that we deserve the ability. The game deserves it. This would make the experience perfect. The game itself is great. It's really, really great, but it's limited. All we have to play with is whatever the devs put in the game. This boss only pops up once or twice. Well, that's it, the end. But a map editor, my friend, a map editor would make the game infinitely bigger. Its full potential would be unlocked. There would be no limitations whatsoever. The game would suddenly become everything it possibly could be. And if you want to go for the marketing angle again, this is another thing that would just make business sense. Give us a map editor, suddenly everyone is streaming themselves attempting these ridiculous death gauntlets, and it's super crazy and everyone is having a good time, and even more people are getting into the game. Honestly, I don't think I would stream anything else for the rest of my life. Make it paid DLC or drop it in an update, but please, Nintendo, give us a map editor. I've waited long enough. We've waited long enough. The time is now. I believe that every idea I've presented in this video is reasonable. I think they're all very doable. They don't seem like pie-in-the-sky ideas to me, and I think they would make the game perfect. I'm sure plenty of you have your own ideas, though, so please let us all know what you think would make Pikmin 4 perfect, or at least, better. And a quick message to Nintendo before we go. If you give me a Pikmin map editor, I will never ask for anything ever again. Never. No more wishlist videos, Nothing like that. That'll be the last thing that I ever ask for. It is all I want. It is all I want in life. I might delete my channel for a Pikmin 4 map editor. I'm not willing to commit to that just yet, but it's on the table.